her shoes at sunrise. Camera in her hand, hope in her eyes. Dust on the trail, sky open wide. Talking about grace with every stride. Welcome to Lori's Soul Circle. Come walk a little while, talking faith, talking courage, laughing, crying, finding light inside. Step by step, she reminds you, you are stronger than you knew. Lori's Soul Circle, God's love walking with you. She's breathing out fear on the hillside, turning every hurt into a highlight. Little roadside cross, she nods her head, says, you ain't alone in the words he said. Welcome to Lori's Soul Circle. Come walk a little while, talking faith, talking courage, laughing, crying, finding light inside. Step by step, she reminds you, you are stronger than you knew. Lori's Soul Circle, God's love walking with you. She says, lift your eyes, even when the path gets steep. Every valley, every question, he's still leading with your feet. So you walk, so you breathe, you believe. Welcome to Lori's Soul Circle. Come walk a little while, talking faith, talking courage, laughing, crying, finding light inside. Step by step, she reminds you, you are stronger than you knew. Lori's Soul Circle, come walk a little while, talking faith, talking courage, laughing, crying, finding light inside. Step by step, she reminds you, you are stronger than you knew. Lori's Soul Circle, God's love walking with you.
Good morning, everybody. I was trying to do this outside today, and of course, I should say Murphy's Law, but I'll say Chiango Law because that's just the way it is in our family here. I have like three. I'm not even sure they're neighbors, but when you're on a cove, the noise just echoes everywhere. So I have like three people mowing their lawn, and it just sounded really loud to me, so I didn't know how it would come across. So I was trying to get back in here. That's why I started the song a little bit late, but let me tell you, boy, does it feel good to have my music back. I think the last couple of streams, whatever, I didn't have the music and I totally felt off. I love having my comments here, even though I'm sure there's a delay. And it's really weird because I don't think they're coming in consecutive order because I see people responding to people that have not responded yet in the flow of the chat. So, yeah, if I don't know, something may be up with Ecamm or something. But okay. I saw Mike. Hello, Mike. You need sleep. And that's kind of funny because we're going to be talking about sleep and how important it is. And I saw Scott and Peter. And happy anniversary, Debbie Sue. I hope you've already left. So when you watch the replay, shout out to you. And I'm glad you're out enjoying your time with your hubby. And that's more important. So for sure. And Miss M. I see you're also struggling with some sleep here, but good to have you here. I saw Sally. Hey, how are you, Sally? You're another one. So we're really going to get into sleep today, folks. And if you actually, these last two chapters are, I mean, I've loved the nutrition and I've loved the exercise ones, but these last two, as Peter Attia says, really, you got to nail these last two or nothing else really matters. So let me see who else. Jen, how are you, hon? You're driving right now, but you'll be back soon. CL, Chris, I love having my family here. Just skipping through hellos. See if I missed Daryl. Did I say hi to Daryl? How are you, hon? And Dana. Oh my goodness, Dana. You blew me away. And I have to say, other than seeing the video last night, I have not actually seen the cookies in person. And but my husband did save them. They're all in the refrigerator. So I am going home today and I can't wait to dig into them. But you totally blew me away, totally surprised me. Just your words, everything. It just it means the world to me. But it's when things like this happen that I realize, as much as I feel I have it together, I don't have it together because I still get emotional. I still want to push back and say, you shouldn't have, you shouldn't have done that. But instead, I'm saying thank you because it means a lot. So thank you. Hey, Pops, how are you, hon? I think I am all caught up on the hellos. So, yes, Peter, so many cool kids in one place, right? It is a wonderful thing to see. Um, I am just in the best of moods today, and I am not sure. Well, there's a lot of good things to be happy about, but like it's in my bones right now, and I'm not sure why, other than there are really a lot of good things going on. I've been extremely out straight helping my daughters leave my house. And so I have not been able to keep up with videos and whatnot. So, or even comments on my videos. So I am going to get to that before the day is over. So my apologize for being so late on everything. But everything, we got Courtney off. I think I had shared that there was after the van was all done, she was supposed to leave last week, and we found there was a transmission, like an axle problem. I know nothing about cars, so I'm only parroting what I've heard. But it was even a bigger problem than we realized, and we think it had it like before she even drove home from out west. So definitely grateful that nothing happened uh, as she was driving. We always joke that when she breaks down, she's always in some place like Nebraska, right, where there's just no service stations, no nothing, and she always has these crazy tow bills. So definitely again, divine intervention on her side, but it's all good now. The van is, she loves it, she's in love with it, and everybody that has seen it um loves it. And so I will share it, but I'm going to wait till Sunday at Sunday's live stream to share it, just because I think we have too much to talk about today. And my youngest daughter moved into her apartment on Monday, and that was a all-day affair. We didn't get home till midnight that night. Of course, if something's going to go wrong, it's always going to go wrong for the Chiangos. So there's little hiccups here or there, but all good. And I think I shared with you that she got engaged a couple weeks ago. So I will also share that video. They caught it on video. I'll tell the whole story on Sunday. So I'll share both of those on Sunday. And I was taking them out, her and her boyfriend, yesterday to get a few things for the apartment. They have a really cute place up at the beach, and they have a really nice back deck, but they had no furniture for the back deck. So I just wanted to get them a couple chairs, a little table, whatever. And then they needed a couple things in the house. Long story, we ended up going to Walmart, and she jokes all the time because that's like the only store that was in State College for them to go to when she was away at school. And they always joke how the best things happen in Walmart. Don't really know the story behind that, but should say that all the time. And so as we were going up and down the aisles yesterday, she was checking to get dimensions on something, but she had an email. So she actually got a job offer yesterday. So she is beyond ecstatic. So we're very, very, very happy. Um, just in the economy and the market, we're a bit nervous when you spend all this money on tuition and she graduates without a job, it's just a little nerve-wracking. And I really think schools need to be held more accountable for helping place their students. But anyways, so that's all good. So that's all good news. Oh, one more piece of good news. So I came up to the lake yesterday, mainly because my son's not coming yet up on weekends and whatnot. So I have to come at least a couple times a week to water my plants, water my garden that's up here. And my husband was going to come, but then realized he couldn't because our dog was going for a grooming appointment, which is down in Andover. And anyways, I guess at 1:40 in the morning last night, and we have all the windows shut. We had the air on because the pollen is just so bad. He doesn't know what made him wake up, but something woke up. He said he thought he heard something, but didn't really hear anything. And we have our chicken coop out back. Well, long story short, a raccoon got into the coop. Well, we don't know where the raccoon got into. We saw that what door was open. It's this like hatch door that goes underneath the coop, and it's there just to help clean out from underneath the coop. And he grabbed the spotlight on his way out, and all he saw was this raccoon running across the yard. He saw our two leghorns, which are the white chickens, in the lawn. So, of course, his heart sank. But as he got closer, he saw their little heads pop up. Um, he checked them over. They don't have a mark on them, doesn't have a scratch on them. The best thing I can think, and the other, I think I told you that I adopted a chicken about a week ago. I'll get into that story another day. But the other five chickens were all sleeping, sound asleep, didn't even know this was going on, didn't even know a raccoon got into their run. One of our hens, and she is a hen, but she's never laid a day in her life. And what happens is they can sometimes take on rooster tendencies. So about a year ago, she started roostering at 4:40 in the morning, right before the sun, or whatever time in the wintertime when the sun comes up. And she's very aggressive. She's always like, if she sees a chipmunk, she'll run after it. If she sees birds, she just, when they're out free range, and goes after them. Anyways, we think the raccoon got in. We think she went into action and actually chased the raccoon off because there's not a mark on her. And then we think Pearl, the other leghorn, kind of like went to help, but Marsha would lay her life down for Pearl. She just adores Pearl. So, anyways, something else to be happy about because I would have been extremely sad if I lost all my chickens. So, all right. So that's all the good news. So these last two chapters were sleep, and I'm going to cover both of them: sleep and emotional help. And he basically said that well, first he said that he believes sleep is like the number one thing for longevity, um, because that's where the body does all the healing. And let me see. I mean, he even gave statistics like if you get less than 7 hours of sleep, um, your heart attack rate can go up by like 26%. Also, type 2 diabetes, it wreaks havoc on your hormones. He says it's the most powerful longevity tool, more powerful than any drug, any supplement, any exercise. And it's the one that we most neglect. And, I know when I was younger, I neglected it. And then I went through a stage where was, I felt I was busy all the time, right? It was almost like a badge of honor, right? When I was raising a family and working full time, to just kind of prided myself on, oh, I don't need that much sleep, and I'll be the first one to admit how wrong that was. Um, oh, yeah, he thought it was a badge of productivity. Uh, um, and not only does it have an effect on your body, it has an effect on your brain, right? Your cognitive abilities, things to remember. Um, and that's the thing, is sleep is not passive, right? He says that's where the body does all the critical maintenance. And he calls it the brain cleaning. The brain has its own waste removal system, and it's almost entirely only happening during your sleep. It flushes out metabolic waste. Um, and it the lack of sleep also, they're tying it to, I'm not saying it's the causal factor, but they are tying it to Alzheimer's. Um, chronically poor sleep, chronically poor brain cleaning um, tends to lend itself to accelerated neurodegeneration. So, also memory consolidation, especially during the deep sleep, your brain transfers information from short term to long term. And without that adequate deep sleep, he was saying, it just doesn't stick. You just don't remember things. And that's why pulling all nighters to study is worse than if you actually took the time to sleep. He goes into hormonal regulation. The growth hormone is released entirely during sleep. That's when your muscles will repair and they'll rebuild themselves from exercise. Cortisol, that stress hormone, is completely regulated during sleep. So if you're getting poor sleep, then it chronically you have that elevated cortisol, right? And I mean, we know that cortisol wreaks havoc on your weight, on your heart, so many different things. And cortisol is actually more addictive than I think anything out there, more addictive than nicotine, sugar, anything. Cortisol is. It's almost like when things are going well for somebody, they need that cortisol hit. So they'll do that self-sabotage thing just so that it can get that cortisol hit. And that's been proven. That's not just Lori talking. So yeah, I have sleep is needed to strive off Alzheimer's. So many things tie back to poor sleep. And 1/3 of our lives, when you think about it, right? You're supposed to get 8 hours sleep a night. 1/3 of our lives is supposed to be dedicated to sleeping. That's not by mistake. It's because there's such a strong system. The whole construction of your body and the maintenance all happens in that 1/3. So I just think that we need to do whatever we can. And I know some people have problems sleeping. So you need to figure out how to remove each thing that's causing you not to sleep. And, staying stressed over something isn't going to make you feel better. And, I said to somebody recently, and I think I said this the other day, that, as long as you have your health, everything else is fixable. I don't care what it is. I don't care. Um, you may have to do things you don't like doing, but it's fixable. So, um, oh, the other thing about not enough sleep is it doesn't, whatever that hormone is, that satiety, I can't say it, to make you feel full, that won't kick in. So you're constantly hungry when you're tired, right? He says Attia grew up in the low fat era and believes one of the worst public health recommendations ever made. Oh, I missed that. Hold on. Insulin sensitivity is directly affected by sleep. One night of bad sleep can make you as insulin resistant as a pre-diabetic. So, and I talked about cortisol and growth hormone. Um, uh, yeah, just I'm not going to read everything. Oh, but the alcohol, people who drink alcohol, um, though it may make you tired and make you fall asleep, it totally disrupts your deep sleep, and in the long run is obviously very, very bad for you. Um, he says there's no level of alcohol consumption that is beneficial for health. The studies have suggested moderate drinking was protective have largely been debunked. The risk to liver, cancer risk, sleep disruption are real, even at the low levels, he said. I mean, he's not telling people they shouldn't drink, but, go into it with your eyes wide open, use your own discernment. So, what was I had that was, and then he went into like 3 different stages of sleep. Your immune function, right? Your immune function is down with lack of sleep. And both testosterone and estrogen are both regulated during your sleep. And then the emotional processing, the REM sleep, which is your dream stage. It's where your brain processes all your emotional experiences from the day. It literally strips the emotional charge um, from difficult memories, which is why things feel catastrophic at night. But then once you have a good night's sleep, they don't seem so bad in the morning. I think we've all experienced that. No matter how dark it is at night, joy always comes in the morning, right? You always feel better. So, and then he went into the stages of sleep and why each matters. Stage 1 and 2, which is your light sleep. Um, it is important, and it's last, the first part, still important. I don't know what that note means. I wrote some here I don't understand. But then there was stage 3, which is the most important. That is your deep sleep, and that's your slow wave sleep, he called it. That's where you restore everything. That's where your growth hormone releases. That's where your cells repair. That's where some of your cells, like the bad cells, get eaten. Your immune function repairs itself. That's where the brain cleaning happens. Um, and most of the deep sleep happens in the first half of the night. And this is why when you go to bed really late, that matters because you're not getting all the deep sleep that you really need, the most restorative sleep, he said. And then there's the REM sleep, and um, that's where the emotional and cognitive restorative things happen. That's where your dreaming happens, is in REM, he said. That's where you process emotion, creativity, memory, and most REM happens in the second half of the night. So, and one of the number one things that he said is destroying our sleep. I mentioned alcohol, but the other thing he said is the lighting, all the lighting, right? Whether it's the blue light from, these gadgets we have, but even if you have a TV in your bedroom, or you have a cable box in your bedroom, or you have an alarm clock, anything that has any type of little LED light, even if it's that little red light, that really disrupts you. And the other thing is even the lighting in our house now, they're finding out how bad it is for you. They had everybody switch over. I don't even think you can get standard light bulbs anymore, and they're all like LED now. That is supposedly one of the worst things for you. And of course, now they're finding that out, and they're trying, the word's trying to get out there. But what do? You can't get regular light bulbs anymore. Um, so he talked about that, the blue light in the screens, because that suppresses the melatonin. Um, and he suggests stopping it 1 to 2 hours before bed. Or he said, if you have to use it, use those light blocking glasses. So I think I will go back to um, comments in 1 second. The temperature. I've always known that a cold house is better to sleep in, but he says most people think you're supposed to sleep in a warm house, but you're supposed to sleep in a cool room. I guess I knew that. Caffeine, you got to limit your caffeine intake the second half of the day. Though he said he's not susceptible to the effects of caffeine too much. So he can even have, I think he said, an espresso after dinner and it won't phase him. And then inconsistency in your routine, in your daily life. He said that circadian rhythm is so important, and to stay on track with that. And stress, right? Stress is obviously, I think, something that keeps people up. But he says that's one of the biggest things. Stress to your nervous system affects your deep regulation sleep. Um, and we've talked about that, right? The body keeps the score. So either you need to process it somehow, or it's going to come out in some other fashion. So a couple things that he wrote, that he summarized. He said consistent wake time, a cool bedroom, dark room. Um, so even if you had to wear some type of mask, no screens 1 hour before bedtime, no alcohol within 3 hours of bedtime, no caffeine after noontime. Have a routine, like a wind down routine. And then within 30 minutes of waking up, he said you really should get out into the sunlight somehow. So, and I've heard Andrew Huberman talk about that too. So, um, but one of the things he said And it's true, oh no, actually that goes with the emotional chapter. So never mind. I will say that in the emotional chapter. So let me go back to the comments. Um, okay, we got a lot of folks here. I have, I am going to skip the hellos so that we don't, Dana, Pops, Miss M. Okay, yep, CL. I said all of those. That's why I was trying to know if you were going to be home because I didn't want them to sit in the sun. Yeah, no, I had I got an email from UPS saying I got a package, and I usually get that when I order something, but I hadn't ordered anything, so that's why I was wondering. And then Dana had texted me, so she must have known. She must have known I wasn't home, but thank goodness Andy was. So he got everything in the refrigerator. He said pretty quickly. Um, hey Glenn, how are you, hon? Certainly hope you're feeling well. You got your vacations. It's ticking by. It's coming up soon, right, guys? Hey, Granny. I'm glad you could pop in, hon. Those were tears of joy, Dana. Those were tears of joy. It's just it's nice to be loved. It really is. It's a good feeling. It's still a little bit, the best way I can explain it. It's still something I need to learn. Um, when you have a fire victim, right, and their body is covered with third-degree burns, even if it's something good and somebody wants to give them a hug, even though it's full of love, it still hurts, right? So sometimes I think I'm still just dealing with learning how to be loved. And I think I come so far until something like this happens. And then I have to check in and say, no, Laura, you still got work to do. So it's all good. Thank you, Peter. So, my friend's husband, I have not talked to her. We have this like chain going with a couple friends. Like if she reaches out to one of us, we immediately contact the other because none of us have heard from her or had not heard from her since like Saturday night. And I think I shared with you that was like the 72-hour mark. And the doctors had said, 24 to 72 hours was the most critical. Finally, she did reach out to one of our friends, Ed, yesterday, and all she said was um, prayers. We think we're going to pull through this. That's all she said. So I take that as a very good sign. I think that's exactly what she said. We're going to get through this. She didn't say we're going to pull. We're going to get through this. So we took that as an extremely good sign, but we don't really know the details of what's happening. I'm sure she's overwhelmed. One of the things she had learned was, though they do not think this cardiac arrest that he had was due to a heart attack, or um, they found out they did some type of whatever you do to find out about your heart, and they saw all four arteries blocked, but they said that did not cause the cardiac arrest. But if he was to pull through, that was going to have to be addressed, like maybe surgery. So I don't know. She might be contending with that right now. I'm sure she's overwhelmed. Um, I'm sure there's a lot of people in and out of her life right now at the hospital and whatnot. So thank you, Peter, for asking. And I did want to provide that update, and I forgot. So thank you for reminding me. Um, hey, great, Tyler. I can't wait to see it. And I mean, your hands are full, hun, so I get it. So good. So if folks can, we should be checking out Tyler's new video. I think he only has a couple there now, but let me tell you, they're raw, they're real. It's what dads are going through, and it really hits me because I know that's what my son's going through. My son's 31, and I know a lot of the things that I hear Tyler talking about. I know my son's going through because he's talked to me kind of on the surface a little bit about it. I'm sure he doesn't want me to worry, so he doesn't go deep. But so it's when I listen to Tyler, it's like I'm listening to my son, if that makes sense, because I know he's going through the same thing. He has two kids under two. They're trying to buy a house right now. They're looking for a house, and It's a lot, but they want to keep my daughter-in-law at home to raise the kids, and it's a different time, so it's a lot. It's a lot. Lori, do your real life. It's what is most important. Oh, you're so right, Granny. I am learning that, hon. Well, hello there, Swan Tales. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Love having you here. Um, Swan, is this Swan Snow? You know her, Sally? I'll take all the good news you got. Yeah, a lot of good news, Scott. A lot of good news. But I mean, again, I just feel so, I don't know, so happy today. Not that I'm not usually happy, but uh, how many days till Matthew gets here? 12? Oh my goodness, 12. I remember it was over 100, Sally. The raccoon was trying to save the chickens. Maybe. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. You always light up a room when you enter. He certainly does. He certainly does. All right, Swan Tales. I don't think you've ever been here, but it's great having you here. But it sounds like you know folks here in the family. You take a lot of naps during the day. Yeah, naps are great, aren't they? Man, when I was younger, I would never think of taking a nap. I had to be up at like 4:30 in the morning. If I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I felt like half my day was over. I was just always an early person. It wasn't until after I went through, back in 2019, I went through my treatments. It took years, years to get that bone tiredness out of me. I mean, I couldn't drag myself out of bed at 8 o'clock in the morning. It was so bad. And then I would have to take a nap. So, man, people who struggle with that tiredness like that, whether it's because of treatments or just different things they have going on in their system, man, I don't know how you function. And I know, Sally, you say sometimes you're that bone tired, and dang, I don't know how you do it, hon. A lot of Gen X were wired for work. We don't stop. Yeah, I think you're younger than me, CL, but I agree. I suppose my days are numbered. All our days are numbered, right? All our days are numbered, Sally. Hey, Otis, how are you, hon? Love having you here. Uh, she will outlive all of us for sure. Well, then I guess I need to work on my sleep. Yes. Yeah, I mean, we can joke about it, guys, and we'll get into the emotional chapter, but I mean, it's really, life is really good, isn't it? I mean, it is. And again, you need your health. You need your health. Um, if you don't have your health, it doesn't matter what else is going on. It really doesn't. And, you know, when you think, I don't know, I mean, we've all been to funerals, we've all been to things like that, right? And you just think, man, if that person only had one more day, or you just realize that how trivial some problems are. Um, and I'm not saying that anything anybody is facing right now is trivial. I'm just saying there's always a way to fix it. There just is. Um, and even your health, we have more control over our health, I think, than we give ourselves credit for, which is the whole reason I wanted to do this book. But I know you try and sleep, hon. I know that. I've been drinking green tea at night and I've been sleeping like a baby. Tea is so good for you, Tyler. I am not a tea drinker. It just really bothers me. But tea is so good for you. I know that. Okay, I used to drink beer before going to bed, and I had trouble sleeping. Yeah, that's what he was saying. It helps you fall asleep, maybe. You get tired from it, but then you don't sleep, you don't go into deep sleep, and then you wake up before you should. The more we worry about our lack of sleep, the harder it is to sleep. The difficult thing is finding the reason we can't sleep. Then we need to do the work to move past them. Correct. Yeah, and he talked about that at one point is, um, A lot of times if somebody wakes up in the middle of the night and they see that it's 2:30, 3:30, whatever, then you just worry the whole time, like, oh, I got to get up in 3 hours. I got to get up in 2 hours. And, it's a self-defeating thing. But yeah, you got to find out. And there's something to be said. And I say this because I see my grandkids. There's something to be said about a routine, a bedtime routine. And I don't care how old you are, there's still something about winding down and following a routine, um, just to kind of get you into that mode, into that, and then leave every phone, computer thing outside your bedroom. Put tape over the little LED lights that might be in your bedroom. My oldest daughter is extremely sensitive to it. And when she comes to visit us, I think we have a clock in the guest room and there's a TV in the guest room. And she literally will cover everything. She unplugs the clock. She doesn't want the clock. And she'll cover the little LED light on the TV. So, because it bothers her so much. Um, I found it hard to turn my brain off once I get into bed. I've started listening to ASMR videos, which helps a bit. Have you tried just, like, I'm sure you have, Peter, but journaling in the sense of just doing a brain dump, just getting it out of your head? Even if you just did a voice memo, kind of put it in a box, right? Put it in a box and like, okay, I'll talk with you tomorrow about this. Just get it out of your head because worrying does not, it's never fixed anything. But I've been there, so I'm not saying I get it. I've had a lot of seasons that I've been through. I get it. For me, it's my mind that keeps me up processing old trauma. Reading the emotion section of this book triggered me, and I've had a few bad nights since then. Good thing I'm seeing my therapist at 11. Yeah, he probably a good time to get into this last chapter, but he talked a lot about what he had gone through, and that's what he said, right? He goes, the whole book, it was him sort of like teaching us, being the teacher. And then in this last one, he said he was actually, I don't think he called himself the student, but the patient maybe, um, because he went through a lot of emotional uh, healing in this last chapter. And yeah, there's certainly things, Jen, that have come up for me um, in this last chapter. And I thought, should I share? Should I not share? And I guess I'm just not there. But all I can say is, when I say as long as you have your health and your emotional well-being, everything else is fixable. I learned that. So those aren't just words to me. Um, so this might be a good time to get into the emotional. Therapy is very good. And he even talked about that a little bit, that there is a difference between like mental health and emotional health. Um, let me see. Yeah, so in this chapter, he did say that it doesn't matter what you do, right? You can do everything right, your perfect diet, exercise, even if you get perfect sleep. He said you could still not be healthy if you don't have your emotional health in check. And a lot of times, if you don't have your emotional health in check, you kind of feel like, well, what's the sense of following a good diet? I don't care if I overeat. I'm not going to get up and exercise. It doesn't matter. So, um, he's like, your emotional life is a wound in itself that needs to be addressed. Um, I don't know if folks are actually reading this book or following along, but these last two chapters are worth listening to or reading through. He goes into a lot about his own emotional journey. And I really, I obviously know about my emotional journey and things I've gone through, but obviously he talks about it from a guy's perspective. And he actually had a couple good resources. And I meant to look up, he really recommended a book in there highly for men, because he says with women, this isn't true in all cases, but he said the majority of women, will let people know how they feel. And I know some of us still hide it or whatever, but generally, women will let, you can see their emotions, you know how they're feeling. He said with men, they hide it, and they will not let people know how they're feeling, and in most cases they won't even let themselves know how they're feeling. They won't be honest with themselves. And I think the name of the book was I'll Be Okay, or I think I'm Okay, or something like that. I'll have to look it up. He also had, just to step back to sleep for a minute, he said there was some great like test, like questionnaire type of things. I think the places were in Pennsylvania, and they were supposedly in the PDF, and you could get a good understanding of your sleep and whatnot. But when I went and clicked them, because I was gonna do a post and put the links in there, they were bad links. They no longer existed. So I was a bit disappointed about that. Um, Maybe it's out on his website. I just went to the PDF in the book. Um, but he did say that the emotional suffering is the most unaddressed component of longevity. And I want to say it is in the top 10% of deaths in this country. I think he said country. Um, he said it's literally killing people. Um, so obviously, he talked about unprocessed trauma, right? And to some degree, there's big T trauma and there's little T trauma. I think we've all heard about that. But sometimes, even if it's little T trauma, when you have so many little T traumas, because I think about like my upbringing, I think I had a lot of little T traumas. But when you have, like I said, years of that, um, he said it's as big as like a big T trauma. Um, he talked about adverse childhood experiences. And a lot of times he talked about what people realize is the way you, as an adult, will process or react to something is really because that inner child in you. I don't think he called it the inner child, though. I think he did reference the little boy in him or something at one point. Um, it's really that inner child in you that is rallying against whatever you're going through. And as an adult, this is how you process it. I think he gave it, one story he told was when he totally lost his mind. It was during, I think, the year of COVID. Like he tipped over a table, he ripped his shirt off. It was just crazy. His wife's like, get the heck out of here. Um, yeah, it was bad. So, but it also doesn't have to be traumatic, right? Um, he said little t trauma can be years of emotional neglect in an environment where you're constantly being criticized. You got to remember, and I've talked about this so much, that from the ages of 0 to 7, you process it, you process everything as the truth. You just record it. You don't say, oh, well, daddy had a bad day today, so that's why he's a little upset. No, you just, wow, I'm bad, I'm no good, um, I got to learn to be quiet, I got to learn not to be seen. This is what you hear, this is what you learn, and then you take that and you hard code it into your brain from like, you know 7 to 12. And then I always say, then you spend the rest of your life trying to unwire all that. But you know so even if as adults you see something happen, you're like, oh, well, it's not a big deal, it's just he had a bad day, so he yelled at the children or something. And I don't know why I always say he, it could be she. um it's a lot to a child, and even if they're not directly yelling at a child, but they see, you know mom or dad or grandparents angry about something, um they may still correlate it, whether it's to them or about money, right? We've talked about the money. If parents are arguing over money or saying all the time there's never enough, um, that's what the child learns. They just learn that having money is bad, or there's never enough, no matter how hard you work. I mean, I think we've all heard those, um, probably from our parents at some point or another. So, um, so one of the things that I wrote down is, and this is true, we suffer more in our own imagination than our reality. And how often do you just let your imagination run wild? In some instances, imagination's good, right? We talk about visualization, but in other instances, you're just playing something over and over in your head, and it's the worst case scenario. And then it's always the anticipation of something, right? Because the actual event is never ever that bad. But he said that, and I'm like, oh, that's truly important. And there was something else. It was another quote. Um, oh, one of the big things he said is, anybody can change. You can work on your emotional health, but you've got to believe you can change. Um, and then he went into, oh, there's my landscaper. See? Um, he went into different therapies. One of the ones he talked about a lot, I'm trying to find it here. He called it DB. Mm, Oh, DBT. Okay. Um, what did that stand for? Jen, you probably know. All I wrote down was DBT, and I forget what that stands for. Um, he talked about reframing a lot, um, which I think is part of the DBT. Um, yeah, he went into deep on attachment therapy, avoidance, right? You kind of build yourself up to survive a difficult childhood, and that's what you carry into your adult. And with the reframing, I think we've talked about this, that when you're constantly beating yourself up, oh, that was stupid, Lori. Why did you do that? That was dumb. You know, you got to stop and ask yourself, would I talk to my daughter like that? Would I talk to Sally like that? Would I talk to Scott like that? And of course I never would. Oh my goodness, I never would. So that's what he says. If you're not going to talk to your friend like that, then you can't talk to yourself like that. You've got to reframe it. Um, I don't know if you guys can hear that noise. I apologize if you can. Um, Let me go back because Jen may have some. There was also a quote, and I do want to read this quote that he had, and I really like it. So I'm probably going to use it. I got to figure out who said it, though. I didn't write down who said it because I'm always talking about either becoming or whatnot. But this quote was, maybe the journey isn't about becoming anything. Maybe it's about unbecoming everything that really isn't you so that you can be who you were really meant to be in the first place. I love that quote. So I just got to figure out who said it. Just go back. I think I left with Jen. Once I lay down, my mind just goes and goes. Yeah, you know, I don't know if you have somebody that you can talk to. Sometimes, I just think talking and getting it out so that you don't have to go over it and over in your head, having somebody to talk to. Hey, Daniel, how are you, hon? That was a nice birthday bash last night. Nice job. Nice job. Alcohol messes with your blood sugar while you sleep and interrupts good sleep. Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? I didn't even talk about that, Mike, is that the alcohol, right? It turns to complete sugar in your body. I've known people who not heavy drinkers, just like friends through the years, whether they have wine at dinner or whatever, and then all of a sudden they would just stop, like cold turkey stop, and immediately, like in a month, 30 days, they would drop 10, 15 pounds immediately from just no drinking. Um, mm, what is ASMR? I don't know what that is. Or maybe I do, but I don't seem to remember. What is that? You have a lot of stress, Chris. Yeah, stress is and especially in our society and just so many things in our culture. It's hard. It's got to be a constant effort. As a Jen who just said it, that you really got to figure out and you got to make It's not just going to happen. And that was one of the things he said, right? That if you're in a bad mood and you're having, a bad day or whatever, and we've talked about the vagus nerve before, where the deep breathing, he's big into the deep breathing. And we've talked about how you can inhale, hold it, and then exhale for longer than the inhale. And it could be all different combinations. As long as the exhale is longer, it actually will help with the vagus nerve. But one of the other things he said, splash cold water on your face. He goes, that will be a complete interrupt of your thoughts and of the things spiraling in your head. And he said, if the cold water on the face doesn't work, take a cold shower. He says, get in and take a cold shower. That will completely put you in a different mood. Um, Go outside. We've talked about that. To me, being outside, you're closer to the source of all things. You're closer to God, right? Um, and you can just get lost in awe of, especially right now, how green the trees are up here, and the smell of the flowers, and um, really like be in it, be conscious of everything, be conscious of the rocks you're walking by, just get lost in it. Look at the birds that are flying around you. If we can get out of our own heads and actually see that type of stuff, you talked about how it will change how you're feeling. Um, so those were a couple of things that he talked about. Yes, Otis, the book was saying you can't remember things as well if you're drinking. Yeah, yep. Because I also think it's where it disrupts that sleep, that cognitive sleep, um, that it was talking about, Mike. I think, which is one of the reasons. Peter, when you can't sleep, you should get started on writing a book with all those nuggets of wisdom. Well, that's a great idea, Jen. And I'm hearing right now that publishing a book, so funny you say that, Jen. Publishing a book right now, it's probably the easiest time ever in the history of publishing books. So, Peter, that might be a good idea. And then we can get it published. And you can do print on demand with Amazon. You'd probably sell at least 100 with your family here. So, I don't know, that might be a good idea. There you go. I don't care what you say, Laura, you give the best hugs. Oh, it's easy to give hugs when you love somebody, Sally. There was a time I would take naps a lot, and my mom told me no more naps because I wasn't sleeping at night. Well, that is true. That is certainly true. And it's kind of funny you say that, Em, because when I was watching my grandkids a couple weeks back, my son and his daughter-in-law went to a wedding. Yeah, if the kids sleep during the day, they're not going to sleep at night. So because we were there, they missed their morning nap, and then because we were there, they didn't get their afternoon nap because they were just too exciting because we were playing with them or whatever. Um, but they slept like a rock through the night. And once we got through her being put in her own crib, which she was not used to, she was out cold. And my son was, I think I shared that story. He was in awe because he called me around 11:04 that night, and he's like, "Oh, we're on our way home, but we're stopping to get a snack on the way home." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, take your time. We're just here." And he's like, "Oh, we'll get the kids in bed when we get home." And I'm like, "No, they're already asleep." He's like, "Okay, well, we'll bring them upstairs when we get home." I'm like, "Hun, they're already in bed." I said, "Jax is in his bed, Rivy's in her bed." And he's like, "Wait, wait. You and Andy are sitting on the couch and the kids are upstairs in bed." And I'm like, "Yeah." He was shocked. So it's kind of funny. Uh, when you need your health. 100%. I mean, yeah, Mike, right? You went through that earlier this year. Everything else is fixable, guys. I'm learning to center fire my job because my health is more important. Yeah, 100% is. And I know, Mike, you and I have talked about this, that I get needing money. I do. That's the way this world is built. But if you don't you also need time to decompress. You need time to rejuvenate, both physically, mentally. And again, he said emotional health is probably the number one thing. It's truly the foundation that everything else is built on. Um, if you don't feel good about yourself, if you're not happy in life, you're not going to try and eat healthy. You're not going to care. And that was the other thing, right? He said, um, what's the purpose of living to 100 if you're not happy, if you're miserable, if, you know, you can't move to begin with type of thing. So truly and he did talk about how there was a difference between mental and emotional. And then I didn't go into that, but he did say there's a difference between mental health and emotional health. And some of these things that he talked about, like with the sleep and the different things that you can do, he said they're more potent than prescriptions. Um, prescriptions, there's nothing wrong with medications. They have their place, but the body really is designed, and I truly believe this. This is Lori talking, I guess, but I do believe the body is designed to heal itself. We just need to give it the right conditions to do that. And yes, it is a challenge at times, with what we have to choose from to do that. Did I share with you? I may have. My coach had gone to France, I don't know, maybe a month ago, 3 weeks ago, and she said nonstop eating, nonstop eating. And she was really concerned that she had gained a lot of weight. She had lost weight just from eating outside this country. Um, so Jen and Peter, I don't know what your food supply is like and whatnot, but it's got to be better than what's going on in the US at times. I don't know how I went down there, but anyways, yes, Mike. Um, I'm still working on that. My own health issues more important than anything else. I love to put others before me. Yeah, and Em, I think that comes down to we put others before us because we don't feel we're worthy, right? And I just did a video on that where where in our lives did we stop feeling we were worthy? And you may think, oh no, no, that's not true, Lord, but it is everything. It's an underlying thought for most everything. If you don't feel you're worthy, you don't feel you're good enough, you're going to put other people before you, you're not going to take care of yourself. It's just true, and more than anything, we were born worthy. We did not come here flawed. I know there's different beliefs on that, and that's okay. It's just not my belief. I believe we came here perfect, and somewhere along the way we lost that perfectness, or we were told, you know perfect might not be the right word, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. It is not worrying that keeps me awake. It is thinking about different videos. I hope not, Peter. Oh, that's so funny. I liked it. um I liked your video last night. I was watching a few last night, and yours about how you made a mistake about whether to use AI or not. And I think, if I've talked to you for a minute, you know that I have this love-hate relationship with AI for so many reasons. It has its place, right? It has its place, but we must never, ever think AI is better than us. We must never lose our humanness to AI. We need to keep it in perspective. But it was a good video, hon. You're listening to the book. Good. The first half of the book I really struggled with. I mean, yeah, the diseases and all that, important. I get it. But I really like the nutrition and exercise. But I really love the sleep and the emotional health. And again, he only scratched the scratch of a surface of emotional health. I, you know, wish he had gone deeper on that. So, but there's so many great books out there that do go deeper on it. And guys, he does recommend a book. He said it was the best book he's ever read, and it's for guys, and it was about emotional health. I'm going to do a post on it because I think it's worth picking up, guys. It's worth reading it through it. If he says it's one of the best, maybe it's not, but it's got to be good to some degree. Um, I will find out what it was, and I will do a short post so that you guys can find it. Um, because I love each one of you, and you know, we need to watch out for each other, and we need to get ourselves there so that we're loving life. Um, I need to somehow bottle how I feel right now in this very moment and sell that because that's what we all need. And it's when we have that outlook and that energy, and then it goes throughout the collective out of all of us. That's how you change the frequency of the world. That's how it changes. So if I don't talk, I'm feeling my face says it all. Yeah, sometimes you can definitely read people. Dialectical behavioral therapy. I would never have remembered that. I'm sure he said it in the book, Jen. I would never have. That's why I didn't write it down. But thank you for sharing because he talked about that a lot. He talked about DBT a lot. Don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you, Daryl. Like Adam Rose said, treat yourself like someone you love. Yes, right? Like you would never talk, you would never say, hey, that was dumb, Peter. Why did you do that? I would never say that. But I have, I catch myself often, even just when I'm being silly, I'm like, well, that was bright, Lori, when I did something that wasn't so bright. So, I'm even catching myself. You don't have a good poker face. Oh, and that's the other thing. I did mention that I'm far behind in all these videos. I felt very and not guilty because like I owe you guys anything, but I genuinely love going to Peter and Jen's live streams on Monday. And when I say we were knee deep, we were probably waist deep in moving on Monday. And I couldn't even put an AirPod in to listen to it. So I will go back and watch the replays, guys. I would talk to my mom, but don't want to worry her. I get that, Em. And sometimes, though your mom would probably love to be there for you, but I do understand that. I've heard my son say that to me. Um, and sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger, if that makes sense, um, because I think they can somehow see it without those biased eyes, if you would. So I lost 50 pounds when I stopped drinking. Yeah, wow. Wow, Dana. Yeah, I've seen it happen, but 50 pounds, that's phenomenal because it's just pure sugar. It immediately turns into glucose. So ASMR is a soft spoken video, almost whispering. They are targeted at helping people relax and fall asleep. Okay, so they like subliminal type of. Um, I probably listened to them then. Guess I've just never heard it called that. I see a DBT. I see a DBT. It helped me in the beginning, but now my therapist is just a broken record. Do you like your therapist, Em? Maybe you just need to sign. It's so hard. It's so hard to find a therapist, right? Um, because sometimes you just don't connect, and not that there's anything wrong with that person, but if there's no connection there. So, and you don't know there's a connection there usually for a couple of months, right? It takes time. If you think negatively and think it will be bad, it probably will. If you think positive and think it will be good, it probably will. Yeah, it wasn't that Ford who said that, Pops? Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. Something like that. So, hey, Mikey, thanks for joining us on my maiden live stream. Yeah, folks, I don't know if everybody got to go to Pops. I know most of us here were on Pops the other night. He did a fantastic job. I think of these people, whether it was Peter or Jen or Pops, they're also worried about going live, and they literally come across so natural. Maybe you had those butterflies going in your stomach, but Pops, it was like you were just sitting there at the table with us and chit-chatting. It was, you would not know you were nervous if you were nervous. It was great. And I loved how your grandkids got on there and were supporting you and they wanted shout outs. And it was cute when you're like, yeah, my daughter said she'll join, but then she didn't join. And she had joined all along. It was just she didn't get down to her chat yet. So that was super cute. You did a good job. And I will, Sally has given me these changes to make for the schedule, and I will get that done. Give me until the weekend, but I will post another update because I there's quite a few of them. Um, so I believe you're on Tuesday nights, Pops, and then you and Mike, your podcast is on Thursdays. I have it written down, but I think that's what it was. It was a great stream. Thanks, Big D. It was quite a circus. We ended up with over 70. That is amazing. 70 folks, Pops. That is a direct um correlation to the love that you put out there. Man, that talk about a mirror, right? You had that many people there just because of the energy and the love that you give to everybody. They wanted to be there. So that speaks volumes. I hope you know that. The past has happened. We can't change it. The future's not guaranteed. We can't control it. The here and now is where change happens. What we change today helps us more than worrying about things. Yes. Was it a book that I'm trying to think what book I'm reading right now because they just talked about if you can stay in the present moment, you can't be depressed. You can't think about yesterday and you can't think about tomorrow. But if you can stay in the present, maybe they didn't use the word depressed, but stay in the present moment, just in the moment, feel the seat that you're sitting on, feel the ground under your feet, kind of like what I mentioned earlier, smell the smells, and just think, when you're looking at an oak tree, just think how amazing it is that that came from a little, acorn or whatever. Man, my garden, I don't know if Granny's still on, but Granny, I finally got my garden planted and things are starting to grow. And when you think about it, right, you think about that little tomato seed and the essence that is in that tomato seed, where you get this amazing tomato plant, and then you'll probably get, I don't know, a couple dozen tomatoes from each plant or whatever. Amazing. If God could put that essence into that tomato seed, can you only imagine what he puts into each one of us? And I just don't think we allow ourselves to grow the way we should. He is a superstar. You are spot on, Sally. Pops, I'm being totally serious. I'm skipping a few guys because I know, oh my goodness, I'm really late. Whenever you show up on my live, I am so honored. This is true. She has said that, Pops. I can attest to that. Thanks, Peter. It was truly great having you there. I need to read more. Peter, you are wise in my book. Reading is great, Miss M. And it doesn't always have to be nonfiction. You could just get lost in a story. Um, Especially if you get yourself into a series where there's like a lot of books or whatever. One of my favorite authors, and she's a Christian author. I mean, I love to read all types of genre and stuff. But Karen Kingsbury, if you've ever picked up any of her books, she's phenomenal. Redeeming Love is another one. Um, I don't know if the guys would like it, but women out there, pick up Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. The best book to this day. I would say it is the best love story I have ever read, and but a different type of love story. I'm pausing because it's that, and um, is it the 10,000 Suns? That one's a heavy book though, but man, that was a freaking amazing story. But anyways, I just clicked on Peter. We may not have control over portion sizes, but we do have absolute control on how much of those portions we eat. We have control over what we eat. We have what we lack is the discipline to make the right choice. But we have the ability, Peter. We have God gave each one of us discernment. And I just don't think we use it enough. We don't use our common sense enough. Um, but you're right. The quiet kid received all the praise and special accommodations. I learned quickly how to collect the gold stars. You can collect the gold stars and still feel like an imposter. Yeah, CL. Yeah, I think a lot of us did that, right? As kids, especially as kids, I can even in the chaotic family I grew up in, it was so important to me for my parents like to be proud of me. And it didn't matter what I did. I never felt they were. And it was almost like when I did succeed, CL, like I felt like they thought like I was bragging because my sister didn't excel in school or anything like that. So they're the ones who taught me how to shrink in a corner, um, and to make sure my light stayed out. So I get it, CL. But now we get to choose to shine. We get to choose to have our light burn bright. So, and I think the older you get, again, been doing so much thinking as 60 fast approaches, man, it just life really is good, even with all the crap that's going on in the world. It really, really is. Um, thanks, Sally. I want to get you on with me ASAP, and I'd love to do one whenever you want. You're terrific, youngin. I love that. I love that. Bye, Jen. You probably have to hop off. I know you said Jen 11 o'clock. Love you, hun. If you see this replay, I love you, hun. All right. Oh, I am at the end. Look at guys. I'm a little late. Oh, where's my phone? Look at the time, guys. 11, 11, 11, 11, 1, 1, 1. What did I say? I always see that number. I wish I had my phone so I could take a picture of it. Um, bye, Miss M. Thank you, hun. Uh, okay, I'm having a blah moment. I am not blah, but what? Ta-ta for now. Ta-ta for now. Okay, let me just grab, I don't even know if anybody's still on, but I'm just going to grab my Thoughtuary book and then I will dismiss the class. I apologize for going over, guys. Um, and I will have another video drop today. I know I'm a couple behind, but I will probably drop a few in one day type of thing so that my last video does show up on my birthday on Monday. I think I did all my notes. I just want to make sure. Uh, I guess the last thing I wrote was, I guess one of Attia's biggest underlying messages was that, science matters, your different protocols matter, but none of it matters if you're not willing to do the inner work. And this was, to me, everything. The body and the soul are not separate. They're not separate. So, what wounds the soul eventually also wounds the body, and vice versa. What heals the soul, connection, truth, love, forgiveness, heals the body. The body always keeps the score, folks. I think that was it. Um, I like how he said he goes longevity without wholeness. It's just a longer sentence, right? It means nothing. So overall, I enjoyed the book. Um, so I will do a post wrapping it all up, and I will put that book name for you men who are interested in it. And I appreciate everybody who's come here every Thursday and kind of waddled through this with me. First book club I've ever done. So it was good. It was fun. And thank you. All right. So June 4th, take the opportunity to ask questions and understand. Resistance and fear. Opposition to a new idea is often not true resistance, but rather a lack of understanding. And yes, sometimes an expression of fear. That's so true. So instead of rushing to prove yourself right, take the opportunity to ask questions and gain clarity on the issue and the driving force behind it. Do this, and you'll not only learn why your idea was being rejected, but also build trust through acknowledgement, respect, and curiosity. And that's always a good thing. Ask yourself this: how often do I get defensive? And could it be that truly is a reflection of the fear I have of rejection, vulnerability, and loss of control? That was good. All right. So I will. What's today? Thursday. So, Pops, are you doing your podcast tonight at 8? I know Allie goes live at 8. Um, was it every Thursday or was it a certain once a month or bi-weekly? I'll have, I'll have to check. And if I have questions, I'll either reach out to you, Pops, or I'll see if Sally knows or whatever. But I love you guys. Oh, oh, oh. Let me go through a couple more comments here. I need to have a great weekend, my friend. Yes, I love you, Em. Lori, somebody bought me one. Amazing. 111. I'm telling you, that number's everywhere, guys. It's everywhere. That's amazing, right? That's amazing. Hey, Dave, how are you? I'm glad you could pop in. Love having you here, hon. Hello, Hello, old guy hustle. How are you doing? Welcome. Hi, Sally. Morning, old guy. Tuesday. No, his live stream is Tuesday at 8, right? But when is the podcast with Old Me Living? Isn't that Thursday night? Or is that during the day? I'll check my notes. I will get with somebody before I post it. Tuesday at 8 a.m. Central. That is your podcast time? And Tuesday night is your live stream? I got it right? So both on Tuesday? Every week? I will send you a note, Pops. I'll send you an email and I will get clarification so I don't mess this up. But um, thanks, guys. Love having you here. And I will see you on somebody's live stream, or I will see you Sunday night if you can make it. I will not have a birthday celebration like Daniel. I can't top that. He's a great singer. So, but I will share some stories and some videos I have. You'll get to see the van. You'll get to see the proposal, the wedding proposal that for my daughter, and any other good news that I have going on. Okay, I got it. I love you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you that every person listening to this, whether they are here today or finding this days from now, is seen by you. Thank you that no one here is invisible. Thank you that no one is alone even when they feel like they are. Thank you, Lord, for the one to sit quietly, who never type a word but show up faithfully. Thank you that they are loved. Thank you that they belong here. Thank you that this community holds space for them, just as they are. Thank you for providing for those who are struggling financially. Thank you that you are their source, not their job, not their bank account, but you, Almighty Father. We praise you. Thank you that doors are opening, that needs are being met. The provision is coming in ways they didn't expect. Please, Lord God, help them see this. Thank you for healing. Thank you for the bodies that are being restored, the energy that is returning, the pain that is lifting. Thank you, dear God, for clarity, for those who have been searching for answers about their health. Thank you that you are the God who heals. And thank you for this community, this beautiful, imperfect, faithful group of people who